All right, welcome to the Pat Life Podcast. I'm Patrick, and today I have with me my good friend Moses Christopher. All the way, you're in Paris right now, right? That's where you're residing.
Right outside of Paris. Yep.
Nice, man. How's it going
Right
over there?
outside. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I think like everywhere else in the world, it's a little uneasy and a little hectic. Here in France, we are in our second form of, as they say here, confinement, quarantine, confinement, where everything is pretty much under lockdown. You have to have a form that kind of you fill out to if you get stopped by the police, or you do it on an application to let the police or anyone who might stop you, which you don't get stopped that much, but they do it as a form of kind of, I think, as a certain level of consciousness for the people when they go out. They're really like, okay, I'm going out, I gotta fill out this form. Even though we've never even gotten stopped on this second during this second confinement quarantine phase. But yeah, everything's pretty much, they just started slowly opening up shops and boutiques. Obviously for Christmas and stuff like that. The restaurants, cafes, bars, they're all closed. Theaters, cinemas, like all social places.
And you're not able to do, I'm assuming, busking then, right? Still?
Yeah, so I'm not able to play at all. Like, I was lucky enough to do a gig right before they started this curfew phase where everything was closed. I had to be closed at 9 p.m. the latest. I was lucky enough to play a pretty nice gig right before that. But honestly, since March, I have not been able to use my license as a musicien du métro, which is where you basically play in the tunnels of the metro, as people would in New York City or other big cities.
Right.
And I haven't been able to do any busking outside anywhere because mainly, either you get stopped or, though I have heard some of my friends in Portugal, because I used to busk there as well, they've started doing it a little bit more often. But here, I've contacted the metro system, the people that kind of organize all the musicians who play in the Paris kind of zone and city, and they said for the moment it's not it's prohibited because they don't want you stopping people. They don't want you creating any kind of groups or anything, and it just kind of, I guess, makes it easier for them to make sure that they're more controlled.
Everyone's got their path on this, and it's as long as you can, as you're doing right now, and we'll go into it, still doing what you love and your passion. I think that more than anything right now is what's important is, when obstacles are thrown in your way, how do you respond? Are you able to still do the things that you love, or finding ways to make that a consistency in your life? Obviously, it brings you joy and happiness, and I would love to talk more about what it is that you do. Clearly, we can see the guitars behind you, but tell us a little bit about what you do, man.
So really, in a simple summary, I'm a singer, songwriter, musician, producer. So I guess with those titles, what goes along with them is I pretty much write songs, perform other people's songs, like covers and versions, and record basically here out of my home studio. Just all the basic facets and areas that most musicians and singer-songwriters would cover, as far as playing, gigging, performing, working, collaborating with other artists. And for the last few years, a little over 5 years, it's been my full-time gig. I was pretty much playing everywhere I would need to play to make money on the side, almost like my day job would be going out either to touristic spots, or playing in the metros, really highly populated areas, and kind of playing a couple hours of a bunch of cover songs I love. And I almost used to say that was like my part-time job, because it wasn't always the most fun, even though I'd get to play and do music. You have so many issues sometimes with the other street musicians and metro musicians. You have sometimes issues with the police, even when you're a licensed musician like I am. Here you have to actually pass an audition before you start playing on the metros. But yeah, to sum it up, basically I'm living my dream as far as being a musician, a performer, and a singer-songwriter creator. Yeah, so just that's kind of sums up what it is that I do, I would say.
So, being that obviously I know a little more of your story than the people listening, how did you find your path to Paris? I mean, obviously we met in New York, but
Yeah.
being that you've lived a life of music your entire adult life, how, like, I guess, can you explain that journey, kind of how you found yourself to where you are, through music?
Well, I basically, I was in New York. I was working. I was teaching guitar lessons to people. I was just doing the whole, the whole rat race that most people are doing in New York to try to make a living and to try to
Mm,
get by. And I entered into a contest because I'm actually a dual citizen. So my father and also my mother, even though she was born in the U.S., she's also a citizen in Portugal because her father's Portuguese and my father's he's a Portuguese immigrant who immigrated to the States like 40 years ago, or almost 40 years ago. And there was this contest that I entered into basically with one of my first song, which was that kind of is an interesting, I guess, an interesting fact. But it was the first song I wrote as like I played in bands for years, and then I kind of started trying doing this solo thing as myself, Moses Christopher, and that's my first and middle name for people who don't know
mhm,
who I am. So I started doing some music, and then I wrote a song. I recorded a really simple demo, acoustic and vocals, and I submitted into this contest that my mom saw on Facebook. She's like, "Ollie, there's this like music organization for Portuguese music, and like from all over the world, like Brazil and all the African countries that speak Portuguese, and parts of India that speak Portuguese, and like and anyone who's either Portuguese or the Portuguese like ancestry." And she was like, "So
mhm,
you can enter your music, and then if you get chosen, like you can maybe win an award and all this other kind of stuff." And I was like, okay, why not? I really didn't think too much about it, to be honest with you. I had to submit the song. It had to be released. So the positive thing was that that contest pushed me to put my song out online, which was cool because then I got a lot of really good feedback from people because I was holding on to this demo I did for months. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe it's not good enough to put out. So I finally put it up on streaming online, submitted to this contest. And then a few months later, I get a call like, yeah, you were chosen as one of the, for the best new talent category. Would you be able to come out and perform for this category? You actually have to perform your original song on the stage in front of like the hidden jury and the whole audience of like about 3,000 or more people in this theater in
yeah,
near Boston. And yeah, to kind of get to where I'm going with that. So I ended up winning that award for the Best New Talent Award. And then what came with that was actually a flight to Portugal with like some kind of like opportunities in a way that I was able to also kind of create. They offered a paid flight. I could bring all my guitars, equipments. Like if I wanted to do things out in Portugal, I could. I could obviously use the fact that I won this award within the Portuguese community and international community to go to Portugal and even possibly promote a little bit more of the award show and the whole organization. So being that my father's Portuguese and my mother's side of the family as well, her roots, they had a house out in Portugal, and I just thought to myself, I'm here in New York. I just won this award, which kind of gave me a little bit more of a feeling of like, I think I got something I need to invest my time on. I think I really need to stop playing this rat race of just trying to pay rent and have a
mhm,
little bit of money to go out and hang out with my friends. And I need to maybe even sacrifice that a little bit more and put myself in a situation where I make a huge change in my life, even like where I live, the daily language I was speaking. I mean, I already spoke Portuguese at that time anyway, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to just throw myself into kind of living by myself in Portugal for a while. I had family there, but and focusing on the music. And basically that's what catapulted, that was the catalyst for me to then, I flew out, I sent all the equipment you see behind me, I already had in the States. I sent that all out. I flew out to Portugal, and then that's kind of where it all kind of started. At Portugal, there were there were tons of things that happened while I was in Portugal. One of the crazy parts of my story, well, journey, I would say, is that I won this award. I had this all these great opportunities. Like I had a few gigs lined up. I was even going to go to this Portuguese television show out there and like talk about the award and all this stuff. And right after I won the award, I started noticing I was having some issues with my voice. So I went to see a doctor in the States well, I had the ticket booked to go to Portugal and everything. And the doctor is like, yeah, you have a polyp on your vocal cord. It's not super serious, but you're in a it's a pretty, it can be something, let's see how I describe it. It can be something, if you don't take care of it soon, you could end up destroying your voice as far as a singer goes. And I was at that point completely devastated. I was like, what? Wait, that means, and he's like, yeah, so that means from this point on, you should probably stop singing, performing, and you need to start thinking about having some kind of a surgery. And yeah, just it's wonderful, or I would say it's beautiful the way the universe works sometimes, because at that time I spoke to my cousin about this, one of my cousins in Portugal, and she's like, oh, that's crazy, because like I actually just 6 months ago started seeing a ear, nose, and throat doctor and voice specialist in Portugal, and I could get you, or reach out to her already and explain your situation, and maybe she can help you out. It turns out she's one of the top like 3 vocal surgeons and like specialists in the world. And I was able to kind of meet with her, and yeah, she did the surgery. She did this surgery on my voice. Like a few months after I get to Portugal, I'm like going there with this hype of like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then it was like, the world was like, well, let's see if you're really ready to hold out and grind and really, like, because it was almost a little too easy. It's like I wrote a song, I won a contest. It was like, it started to seem like it was like, whoa, this is really taking off. And but life is beautiful in that way. And then I have the surgery. I'm not able to sing for a long time, and a lot of these opportunities kind of start, the time passes. People are like, oh, you won that award, what, like a year ago already? Okay, it's like, so I was almost, I wouldn't say back at square one, because I built a lot of contacts through that experience, but I was in a situation where I was going through vocal therapy, learning how to sing properly, doing things I probably should have done years ago, but it was happening at that time. And then I just started taking it slow. And then I was like, all right, I want to start trying to make some money. I want to start playing some gigs. I met some friends, some other musicians. They were like, yeah, we play on the street sometimes, like in the touristic spots, like just not anywhere on the street, but you go to places where it's like beautiful, touristic, by the river, or, where there's lots of people in Europe. And I started doing that, and then started making a really good amount of money to survive, to rent an apartment, to pay for my car that I had out there, insurance, like to actually live a really comfortable life in Portugal. And now getting close to why I'm in Paris, I did that for a couple of years. I was like, wow, this is great. I'm like living by the beach. I'm going to the beach all the time. I'm in nature. I'm in a nice weather climate. Portugal is almost a bit like California, Southern California in a way, like its weather. I was loving it. And I still love it. And I was living in Porto, doing my thing, playing a couple times a week, doing some bar gigs here and there. And then I met my fiance, which is actually
Congratulations, man.
French. Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
When did you guys get engaged?
I engaged to my fiance, or I engaged this. I asked her to marry me in September when we were in Portugal this past summer. When we had, when things were pretty much, everything with COVID was kind of like put to the side, and people went on vacation. And
right. Congratulations, man! I had no idea, because we
Yeah,
saw you in Paris in March that year, so that was like right before all that.
Yeah. So it was a while before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
A
That's
little
awesome.
while before, and yeah, thank you. It's a nice feeling to have met someone, to have like a really strong connection, and then like with the time that passes, it just gets better. I think that's when that, at least for me, that I knew it was like, well, this is someone I really want to spend the rest of my life with, maybe possibly have a family, and share my future. So yeah, we were in Portugal. We met in Portugal. She's also like me. Her parents are Portuguese, so she kind of has the roots in Portugal. She has family out there, and yeah, and I met her in Porto, where I was living at that time. And yeah, we just started a long distance relationship, and then reached the point where things were fine in Portugal, but it was that kind of that desire of, well, I would ask her, I was like, why don't you come out here and live in Portugal? And she's like, well, for the moment I can't because of my job and this and that. But she's like, well, why don't you come out here and maybe we'll rent a place out here?
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, but Paris, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I really want to go to France. I don't speak the language at all. She's like, well, I mean, if you want to, like, the opportunity's on the table. I want to rent my own apartment, a slightly bigger space. She was living with her dad at the time. Um, and then I just decided to make that decision. And I mean, things were fine actually in Portugal. I was recording on music, I was playing,
Right.
everything was chill. I could have just kind of been coasting. And I just said, you know what? No, I think this is one of those moments where I might as well just pack stuff in my car, drive out to France with my stuff so I can keep doing my music and just see what life brings me at that point. And that was 2.5 years ago already that I left Portugal.
That's awesome, man. Well, what
So
if I
that's, to
may?
sum it up, that's why.
Dude, no, I love it, man, and I think it's important, being that I know parts of those stories, a good portion of it, but for people to hear, understanding, as you said, how the universe works in such these magnificent, beautiful ways, where there's these gifts that are given to you, but it's being aware of that or taking the chance, and accepting the sacrifice that comes with it, right?
Mm,
And like for you, being someone who I know, you're like, what, let me go take this journey and try it out. I don't think as much as you, Moses, had that, like, what, I have New York, let me try Portugal. As you said, like, it wasn't as much of a sacrifice as from my point of view of that. All right, I made a sacrifice. Here's the real sacrifice. My voice, as you said, right before I left, the one thing that you use for a living, it's your life. You love it more, like doing what you do. You love more than anything to be able to go, all right, here's the real sacrifice. Are you willing to be patient? Are you willing to really, being that this is your God-given gift here in what you do, are you willing to
yeah.
be patient with it and really cherish it? Like you said, learning how to sing properly, resting it, just focusing on what else could I be doing in these moments to allow this to really be what it could be, the potential. This is my
Mm,
point of view. And I think that's just hearing your story. It's like, oh yeah, you can move. You follow your gut. Your gut's gonna say the right thing. But now it's like, before that, how many times have you had your voice in, or a doctor tell you that your voice, you might not never use it again for if you don't take care of it, right? Like
right,
that's
yeah.
for, from an outside point of view, and like, man, talk about really jumping on the journey and seeing what that sacrifice is. Think about if you didn't allow yourself that patience, or allowing the despair to kick in and taking yourself into this poor me, rather than be like, what, okay, this is scary, this is real, but I'm willing to do what I need to do because this is what I love to do. And
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? And I mean, not saying that it's how you met your fiance, but as you said, it's like being there. The lessons you've learned, I can imagine, have allowed you to be able to go like, what? All right, I made this journey here for the music and trying something new, but let me take this journey for the person, yes, you now, are going to spend your life with. That, I think that's a beautiful
Yeah, yeah.
story, man.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a fun journey thus far, and I'm really looking forward to what the
Right.
future has. Sometimes I'm so excited that impatience kicks in to be like, all right, well, what's going to happen next? What are we going to do?
Right.
For the both of us, we're really not sure exactly what. Besides the fact that there's certain projects we want to work on and there's certain things we want to do. We're both just excited to see what really the future is going to bring. We don't have anything specifically planned, like, okay, well, we're going to get married exactly at this time. We're going to, buy a house. We're going to have kids at this point in our life specifically. And that makes it exciting. Yeah. And that experience with my voice, I was lucky at that point, I think, because I had a mentor a few years before I won that award, that I spent a long period of time with. And he was a really spiritual dude, Christian specifically. but like a radical Christian or an out of the box kind of Christian, in the sense where, yeah, he really instilled a certain level of spirituality and kind of like consciousness in my mind. And that if it wasn't for that whole time with him, I think if what would have happened to me with my voice and all those opportunities, I probably might have completely just like, crashed and burned to a degree. I was like, oh, well, it's over. And because of those experiences, when that happened to me, I just kind of sat back from, obviously I was a bit depressed. I was a little saddened by the situation, but there was another part of me that was like, okay, well, if if the force is kind of telling me that, like, for this at this time, this is what I have to go through. It's what I have to go through, and I just kind of told myself, all right, just accept it, learn from this, take the time to do other things, read, learn more about guitar, and I took a lot of time during that year, almost after the surgery, of just studying guitar. It made me a better guitar player. Um, and yeah, it was. I think it's a great thing when you can sometimes realize that something that seems like it's bad could actually just be something really good in disguise, with a mask on,
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
so
Well, going to music, relating it to music, like take, Vivaldi's Four Seasons, right? Or any sort of, orchestra symphony type. You get these buildups, and then there's this, you're into minor keys, you get, very like staccato, like, things become super hectic, and you're is listening and taking that in. It's this mindset of, oh, this is chaos. There's chaos all around us. And through
mm,
the chaos, then it comes back to this resonance where it is more like nice and smooth. Things come back into this. It almost feels like nature. You're listening to nature speaking and resonating. And that's how I sometimes picture when you feel the chaos. I think music, symphonies, and orchestras of like, okay, this is where we are in the song. This is where we are. Um, as though, it comes out and you're like, wow, that was a beautiful song, because it's just a piece of it, right?
mhm,
Because if every song is
yeah,
exact, like, talking music, if every song is the same four chord progression, which a lot of songs are, and there's no
yeah, today for
authenticity
sure.
to it, and you're not adding your own flair, your own style, which we'll talk more. I would love to hear more. It's ultimately just becomes you're just going with emotions, and it's like, why am I going to listen to this four chord progression when that same four chord progression is right over there, you know? And these are things
Mhm,
that I always kind of using that analogy of music of, all right, what am I experiencing? What is this journey I'm going on in my life? Or like a movie, what's the journey? Also music. What is the journey of this song?
mhm,
The life, as you said, and this twists and turns. This is just like how the music comes together. But it's like people who've taken different animal sounds and nature sounds, and they put them all together and basically make a beat. Have you ever heard those before?
yeah, yeah,
Which I think is interesting, is when you hear it all come together and they maybe just change, the tempo or little things here and there, but it's ultimately the sounds of nature and this beauty that you can hear from it. It's like vibrating. It's like, wow, what sounds so all over the place when you can kind of, as you said, consciously bring yourself to you and be in the moment. You can start to hear it all, literally like in music and a dance. Uh,
mhm,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, 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 yeah,
These are just things that, as you're telling your story and that journey, I think that a lot of people are feeling similar things in the sense of this. I feel lost, and all things have gone crashing down. I don't know what to do, and understandably, but at the same time, it's being able to, as you have been like, all right, this is part of it. This is God, this is the force, whatever you want to call it, the journey taking me on a path. Am I willing to
mhm,
hear the music around me? Is the analogy. So,
right, 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 exactly.
but yeah, man, if I may, dude, talking about music and frequency, I want, being that you do everything, you've allowed yourself to take on all those roles, and I would love to hear why. What is it that when you're writing songs or you're coming, where does that come from your point of view? Is it not like what motivates you, but is it a thing where you hear something in your head, or is it something you hear on the street? Is it like, how does it kind of come to fruition? And then how do you take that process, being that you do it all?
Well, when it comes to songwriting, there are certain moments and certain songs where, to be quite honest with you, I can't explain exactly where some of it comes from. And I say that because there are certain songs where um, I will be inspired by something specifically, whether it's another piece of music, a film I saw, a documentary, um, something else, another experience where I'm going to be like, that is going to inspire me so much, and it's going to basically kind of fill me to a degree with so much inspiration that either I start playing something, or uh, producing something musically, and then the words and the melodies and the ideas just kind of flood out. Um, and then there's these instances where it's just you picking up the guitar and almost stumbling upon either
Yeah.
a riff or something that I might have already been playing for a while, and then just that day,
Yeah.
in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, like there's a whole entire song on a piece of paper, Um, but yeah, I would say that there's those two kind of, not only two, that depends on the musician and the singer and the songwriter, but for me, there's those two kinds of flows of creation, where one is I would say it's all, I wouldn't say it's a divine thing, but it's like there's definitely a connection to something else that's going on, and I'm more or less just kind of a vehicle for it to come out. And then there's the more scientific, like, desire to create a specific piece of art because there's something I'm feeling, and that can also be coming from this like energy or this force within all of us that just kind of like pushes us to do certain things. For me, that being music, I feel like within those two things, one just kind of just happens almost like magic naturally, just you don't force it at all, and the song just pops out. And then there's some others where it's more of like a strategic kind of composing, where I'm actually
Mhm.
thinking a lot more about what I want to say, how I want to say it, how I want the melodies to work, how I produce the actual music. So yeah, I would say for me it's really those two different ways of creating and writing music. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'm with you on that, man, because I've, you know, with my moments as well of having, like you said, those divine sparks of creativity, imagination come into your field, and you, as you said, you're the vessel, you're the vehicle. More, I would say the vessel that basically brings that into this realm, this material reality that we live in. And what's,
Mm,
I mean, I don't know how it is with you and your fiance, but there'll be times where I'll hear something outside, or I'll hear a song, and something within the song, whether it's like an undertone, a harmony, or just the melody itself, I'll sometimes just get these thoughts of like, and I start like going through something in my head, and Joy will be like, "You've been really quiet," and now she just knows that I'm most likely thinking of something about like a melody or a song, and it's just
mm,
on a loop in my head of like, what's drawing me to this right now? Why can't I get this out of my head? And not necessarily in a bad way, just more of like, what has brought my frequency to this, whatever it is that I've been captivated by. And
mhm.
uh, it is quite a beautiful thing, is when you start being like, all right, I've accepted that this is in my field, this is what's now drawn my attention. What do I do with it? And some, as you said, sometimes you just start writing, and before you know it, you have a song in 20 minutes, or you start to play the rhythm, and you just know what the rhythm's going to be before you even created it. You just kind of, just pours out, it floods out. And
Mm,
I am with you. In my opinion, I'm like, that is a work of a higher being, of God. But it's, you need to be so connected in that, and that comes to the present moment consciousness, as you talked about. Is like, when you love what you're doing, you're in that moment, you're truly
for sure.
living
Yeah.
in the present moment. Therefore, using visuals, I'm not saying this is what it is, but let's use a visual so people understand. It's like, you're now, all this noise around you just starts to form itself into just basically this structure, this source, and allows, let's just, visual of electricity allows it to penetrate. Now it's in you, it's expressing itself. Not saying that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is, but you get what I mean. And that's,
I
you
catch
know,
the drift. Yeah.
and going back to even just back in our days in New York, man, like when we'd all be hanging out at the apartment and just there's those, just jamming, if someone's watching, it's like, oh, everyone's really quiet, calm, but everyone's finding synchronicities. They're just, and whether or not they're playing, you're just listening, everyone's in that moment together. It's,
Yeah.
whether it's covers, whatever the case may be, original riffing, you're just feeling the energy in the room. It's everyone coming to life as one. And then obviously and the reason why I want to talk about how you do everything is someone who listens. And I obviously know that you do all those things, producing, writing, singing, uh, instrumentals. Think about how much of that present moment that you created, that frequency in the whole entire process, then gets projected out through the speakers. And that's what we hear is your frequency that's basically wrapped up in that. And that's
Mm.
what's powerful when you hear people who are playing their own music, they're creating it and obviously now producing it themselves. All your time and energy is into that, all your love, all your attention. And it's quite it's profound when you hear someone playing and you're like, wow, this is a great cover, or wow, this is a great original song. And maybe you're like, I don't necessarily listen to this type of music, but you feel that frequency. Do you get what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think that's such a
Yeah.
powerful thing. Is there? Would you want to add on to any of that?
Well, I mean, I would say that I definitely agree for sure that, I mean, music is such a powerful form of communication and expression. I used to say for a long time, and I mean, I would still say that like music is probably it, in my opinion, it's like the most powerful universal language to a degree, or in international. I mean, who knows if the aliens or if there's
Yeah.
any other beings out in space listening to our music. But if there was one thing that I think, if there were other beings or other dimensions outside in space where people could hear whatever we create musically, that I think that would probably be something that would resonate with them, that you'd be able to communicate with them in some way or another. But at least within our planet, and this dimension, yeah, I used to always say that to a lot of people, and it's all, I think it's something that just kind of I also heard and was influenced by other mentors and stuff, as far as music just being one of those things where sometimes you you can transmit such so much energy and so much feeling, so that it doesn't matter what language this song is in, or if it even has words.
Yeah.
Like that's where then it becomes this thing of like, wow, music is really one of the strongest forms of communication. And also, when the other side of how it's like another language is how, and this has happened to me, where I meet someone and we can't speak the same language,
Mhm.
And that person may play guitar or play another instrument, and I can sit down with my instrument, and then we can play together, and like we're communicating together,
Mhm.
and we understand each other within the music. That's another aspect of music being this like really powerful form of communication um, and language. It's so yeah. I guess I would just add that, yeah, it's an amazing thing when you can listen to other musicians or singers or songwriters, or people who are really doing something, I think, genuine, and they're really trying to offer a piece of themselves within the music. And yeah, when you listen to it, you can feel something. You get that vibration. You get that frequency, as you said. And there's something that either they specifically wanted you to feel, or there's something that's being transmitted to you, which can potentially change your mood, your opinion on something you're feeling that day, your whole entire life for some people, and with certain music and certain songs. So yeah, I would just say that I agree for sure that that music definitely has that capacity to 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 make people feel, and to change in ways. Yeah.
Well, to take what you're saying a step further, because for myself included, I was like, oh, music is a universal language. I totally agree. And even through my journey, listening to people, hearing other, just getting knowledge from all different, specs of life and different um, parts of the internet, books. One thing that I've stumbled upon was the importance of math. And this is someone who like wasn't a huge fan of math in high school, and I was like, whatever. But I've grown such an appreciation, because when you understand that music is just math expressed obviously through the vibrations of the instruments, your vocals. It really is, like you said, that the universal language, but a step further, it is math. Like you said, if I'm doing a beat, there's a there is math involved with that beat. You're counting. And that's what we're experiencing. Like you can be working on a job for construction, and you might not be speaking the same language as your crew, but you can say like, piece of wood, like two, and there's that communication of like, we know what that is. And it's on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Everything is on these, your God-given hands. Every song that comes out of your thought and you're playing is, it's the same guitar, it's the same six strings. More often than not, if you're in just standard tuning, it's the same tuning. But what then is expressed, the math is through literally your fingers that in then themselves have that math, that universal language.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I'm with you, man. But it is quite a beautiful thing when you understand, like, okay, I have the ability to communicate through this mathematical language, which is, music. I also understand that if I put my energy, truthfully coming from this place of truth behind what I'm doing, that really has the ability to put people in a mindset of suggestive to my emotion. This is why you'll get people putting the lighters up for songs. You'll get people emotionally crying when someone's singing or playing a melody. You'll get people who want to just get up and dance like they can't. It's like almost out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
And that is frequency. That is cymatics, right? Have you, I don't know if you looked into cymatics, but understanding like those people who take like those basically like those tectonic or those plates, and they put sand on it and they change the frequencies, and you see literally the geometric
Yeah, I've seen a couple of things.
patterns that come from you putting a frequency on that metal plate or whatever that plate is. And it's
Mm.
is the place where the sand is where there's less frequency. In the open spaces where the frequency is resonating, and it will change. So what we're seeing is the visual of, as we talk frequency, we talk vibration, we're seeing the physical manifestation of that vibration. And just like when you see a snowflake, that's a geometric pattern, and the beauty of these certain frequencies draw your attention. Now think about that in music, right? That's in the ether, it's all around us. Think about when that enters your field. So when you say like music really has the ability to communicate with all of us, if you're playing something and that's literally resonating, dispersing from the speakers, from your guitar out into the crowd or busking out in the streets, that's what we're pulling people in, because they're like, I want to be a part of this, man. I want that beautiful geometric pattern to, come into my field. And that's and I think you really can make so many people find a resonance, as one, as you said, unify by just, again, putting your emotion behind it, really being genuine with what you're doing. And music is such a great way to do that. I think that can be used on the other end too, right? Is for some people, you can say and do certain things in your songs that can put people in another suggestive state where it's maybe not as nice, but you know what I mean? It just shows you the power of music.
Right. Yeah. It's again, yeah. Just to kind of reiterate that, it's music is extremely powerful. I think sometimes we almost don't even really, either we almost take it for granted to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
but or we forget just how powerful it can be. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it's, besides the fact that I love playing and creating physically, I actually love the physical act of the instrument, like the guitar, the give and take of playing an instrument. But yeah, there's that other aspect of also knowing how powerful it is, that it's like this almost secret weapon in a certain way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say weapon because it's like you want to attack people, but in that regard where it's like
Right.
almost like this secret knowledge of like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna cultivate this because it can be something that's gonna not only change my life, but change the life of many others, of other people. So,
Well, think about when you're busking, and obviously chime in whenever. When you play, let's just say a cover, and that people know. How do you notice more people just stopping because they recognize the frequency, they recognize the melody? Do you ever
mhm.
start to notice like, hey, once I play this song or this cover, there's a good chance more people are going to stop, or there's a good chance that I'm going to start to get some head turns here because they're going to recognize. And then obviously, they listen because you have an amazing voice and play really well. But do you ever notice those things, or kind of
Oh, yeah, for
anticipation?
sure, for sure. I mean, thanks by the way, as far as my voice and compliments,
No.
but yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's strategic in a way, especially when you're busking and you're just setting up at a spot. There's tons of people all walking around, or you're in the metros and everybody's trying to rush around, going to wherever it is that they're going, um, and you just start playing music. um, it's one of those things where you almost start to think, okay, like what songs are going to catch people's attention, whether
Mhm.
they're originals or whether they're covers. And yeah, for sure, there's definitely certain songs where they just really resonate with people. They're very successful, and they're successful because the frequencies of that song, the way it was written, the way it was recorded, just every time someone listens to it, it gives them a certain feeling. Whether that feeling is different for other people, for every person, that is really not exactly um, important. But the fact that it does something, like "No Woman, No Cry" by Bob Marley or something.
Mhm.
That's one of those songs. Almost any time I've ever played it, it catches people's attention, whether they're really young kids to, obviously someone who's probably been listening to it or a fan of Bob Marley most of their life. But yeah, there's so many different songs, and again, it just kind of shows that music has that capability to just
Right.
catch somebody's attention, to speak to them when they could be in the middle of doing whatever else they're doing, or with another whole nother plan, you know, um, in mind. I've had situations when I was busking, and a lot more when it's outside, like exterior. Like I would play in this park near the Tour Eiffel, or even in other places I've played in Europe, outside where people can stop and stay if they want. Where the metro,
Mhm.
it's more like some people will, but it's more like they're gonna couple seconds and then they got to keep going.
Right.
But with those situations where people stop and listen, I've had people stay the entire time that they heard one song at the beginning, or the first few songs I was playing. They heard
Mhm.
one song in the beginning of my set, and they would stop and stay. And at the end, when they come and like, when I'm done playing, they'll come in and probably want to talk to me or whatever. It's for that reason specifically. They're like, yeah, we were coming here just to take a picture of the Tour Eiffel, uh, and then we were going to leave the
Right.
Eiffel Tower, and we heard that song and it was like, all right, let's just stay. And then you kept playing more songs that we knew or that we liked, and then they just would end up staying the whole time. So it's that power of like they're almost being controlled, and they obviously they have the choice,
Right.
right? But they're just like, well, you know what? Let's just stay here and keep listening. It's fun.
Dude, I
So
gotta chime in, man, because you're nailing a point that I owe it. Going back to consciousness, present awareness. That's literally why it's Pat life, present awareness training, learning how to live your life, training yourself in ways, or working with understanding that you have the present moment. That's all you have. And when you said everyone's got their heads down, they're on the run, I noticed obviously in New York City, where it was like, we got to go do this, got to do this, and I have a schedule, and you're not in the moment. You're just thinking about all the things you had to do, or the meeting you just had that was dog shit, and it's in your mind. You can't, you're whatever the case is, and you see those moments where you see beautiful music on the street, people just boom, 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 walking by completely, and being able to, when you're in the state of being able to go, where's that coming from? Where's that noise? And you go to it and you go, you know what? I'll get to where I need to be. I want to just be here right now. I just want to experience this moment. it really, in my belief, if you're in almost like a trance of, I gotta go here, I gotta go here, this like robotic mindset of like do 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 do, and then someone to play this melody is, it's almost like taking you out of that trance of, you know, go go go, and just being able to go like, whoa, where am I? And then just kind of sitting and listening and being like, oh my gosh, this moment is beautiful. Dude, don't you
Mm,
need somewhere to be? Yeah, 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 I'll get there. I just want to listen. And I think, as you said, the power of music and understanding of bringing that frequency to people, that resonance, it's like there's this like strong force field, like nobody bothered me, nobody talked to me. You know how New York is. You just
mm,
any directions, people are like, get away, they're on their phone. And then just being able to have people with that force field of like, no one penetrates, no one comes in, no one comes out. I'm just, everything's clenched, to then have this music kind of just like flow through them. They're like, whoa. I just think that's such a powerful thing. And I can imagine from your busking experiences, you're seeing almost like these people hunched over, or like everything's, we got to go. We got to go see this. We got to see this. To then ultimately, like, it's just kind of like this relaxing of like, let's just sit back for a second, and does that make sense?
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've witnessed that so many times, and it's one of those reasons where why I would say that even though street performing and playing the metros, especially here in Paris, um, at times was so difficult and so um, almost at times you get that feeling of like, well, I'm almost wasting my time, because it would be from one place to another. I remember in Paris, I would spend like this is a bit of a side note on that other topic, but I would spend sometimes 3 hours carrying all my equipment, and I had a pretty heavy you know like this kind of um, support system on wheels, a trolley system almost, to
Mhm.
carry, and I'd be going up the stairs, and what I'm getting to is all those little moments of you really see you're making a connection with groups of people or with even just one person. Sometimes I could do a whole set and it would just happen to be a bad day and there wasn't a lot of people. But then there's that one person that just you completely stop them in their tracks. You like turn them in. It's almost like that bit of that drug or that dopamine kick or addiction where that's what you're almost looking for every time you play music. You want to get people to, especially the people that are almost kind of like, no, I don't care, I don't want to listen, or they're
Mhm.
zombied into their phone or something that's going on in their life, and then you notice that through the music you were able to do something to that person, to make them feel something, even if it's only for 30 seconds, a minute, an hour. It's that is such a powerful feeling as well, like to feel like, whoa, I have this. And I think this is where why I use that term, like secret weapon or like this
Mhm.
secret magic, that's like, whoa, I have this ability to just then and I mean, it's nice for the ego and it makes you feel really good. It's like, wow, cool, like I can
Right.
stop a whole crowd of people in the train, like in the metros, or
Right.
there were times where in Paris, like there was these stairs where you easily could fit like around, I don't know, just these huge staircases. And there were certain moments I had to film them and put them on my Instagram. They're even in some of my little saved stories, just moments where I was like, all right, I gotta stop, and I would film the people because there's like maybe 150 people like sitting on the steps,
Mhm.
that when I started playing, there was no one sitting on the steps. So
Right.
yeah, it's that I guess I've been lucky enough, and that's what keeps pushing me to constantly keep doing that. One, being a musician in general, and two, also keep playing on the streets and doing that grind that sometimes is pretty harsh. The streets, the hard knocks of the streets and stuff. Sometimes you have certain experiences, but yeah, again, you get that one experience out of a whole week that maybe it doesn't go that well, and then you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And so it's that it really is a give and take, and this kind of like feeling of you're giving them something powerful through the music, and then the fact that they're giving you the attention back as well is like this, just creates this cycle of like energy. And it's yeah, I've had that I've had that whole experience firsthand. So for sure, I definitely
Well,
get what you're saying.
you're as you were chiming about the specific of where it might not be the best day or week, whatever, but it just takes that one person. It takes that
Uh,
one person to stop and listen. And as we talked about the rat race and people putting their heads down, people, many times are like, oh, this is beautiful, but I don't want to be the only one stopping. I mean, some people just don't even hear it, but people are like, I don't want to be the only one stopping. I don't want to stand out in the crowd. As crazy as that
yeah,
sounds, you see it all the time. People are like, oh, don't stop, don't stop. He's just a street performer, or but it's like, but listen to what he's doing here. And when it takes
yeah,
one person, it literally takes people to go, wait, why is this person standing here? Oh, wait, there's someone playing music. Oh, wow, they're playing really good music. But same thing if you were to stand in Times Square and I had one person just look up, you'll see people literally go, because I've just sat in Times Square and just observed at times where I've seen someone look up at something and you've seen people walk by going, and they look
right,
at what the person's looking at. It takes one person to make change or to have whatever the frequency is to bring that
right. To influence, to kind of,
to
yeah,
get
to influence the other people as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you're doing it, obviously in a sense of playing music, being in the present moment, somebody's joining you in that present moment. People go, what is this person doing in this crazy busy life? Oh, they stop to enjoy the moment. Oh, if they can stop, why can't I stop? I know that sounds like I'm going far fetched, but listen, when you understand people's psyche, that's what goes through people's minds a lot of times. Is
exactly, exactly.
okay,
Yeah,
wait, why is this person stopping? I want to stop. Oh, they have the Billy stops. I should have the Billy stop. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. Well, I really like this music too. Well, this person gave money. I want to give money, but it's not because they're just doing just for that reason. It's like you realize, oh, I can give back to this person who's giving me this beautiful music. Like it sounds so silly, but there's been times where I've in New York being so many times where I've been the person who sits and just listens for like 20, 30 minutes because I've just been so um, just moved by what I was hearing, and I would just listen
uh-huh.
and I would like at times like I remember specifically one time I saw a gentleman, he was playing guitar and he had this soul to him, this like jazz soul. It was beautiful, and I just like, can I get you anything? Do you want like drink? Do you want food? Not that you need it, but
Yeah,
you've been here for so long that can I just give you some like and I still gave him money, but I'm like, can I give you something else because you've given me this awesome time that I truly cherished. It's been just amazing. He was like, if you don't mind giving me an orange juice. So I went and got him an orange juice. And I'm not kidding you. As I gave him the orange juice, I go, here you go. Thank you for everything you do. Another person came by, gave him money, was like, can I get you anything? And like literally right after me. And I'm not saying I did anything special. That's not what I'm getting at. But the thing is people see gestures, kind acts, this interaction,
right.
exchange. It's not just now through the frequency, but it's through the material of like, oh, there is this transaction and this let's say this alternating current happening, and now we're seeing it manifest just like the cymatics. You can't see it until you put it on the plates and you put sand in the frequency, and now we can see the geometric pattern here. Well, now we're seeing this.
Yeah,
We don't see it, only hear it. It's embodied, and then we see it through whatever someone being like talking, saying, "Hey, thank you for all you do," or whatever else. And that's for me is when you nailed it on the head. Is it just sometimes takes one person to stop and just enjoy the moment with you or whoever, and music really does a good job at doing that for people.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, definitely I've seen that as well many, many, many times. And through the last, I'd say almost 6 years of doing a lot of street performing, yeah, it's one of those things where it's incredible to see how, because as a street performer, you're observing so
Mhm.
many, you know, opposed to a live gig where there's just like a room full of people ready to see you. Some of them even know your music, stuff like that. Um, it's interesting to just observe the people sometimes and just see how they're going to react. And yeah, exactly what you're talking about in your own experience with that jazz guitarist or musician where you bought him orange juice. There's been these, I've had so many of those
Right.
experiences where, and it's so interesting to see as soon as someone gives something, or then a whole other group of people start doing it as well. They're almost like waiting for someone else. And to comment on that, I've actually had various experiences where there are people that have waited until I'm completely done playing And then will come while I'm packing up my stuff to be like, I was embarrassed to go and put this in your box, or to give you this, or to to buy your CD, or exchange like any, pick up your card or something in
Mhm.
front of everybody or in front of the other people. And it's yeah, I've had that experience. It's unfortunate, I would say, that there is that kind of, I wouldn't say I don't know if it's fear, but that within our society there's that side of people that are so influenced by everybody. It's almost ironic that we live in a society that is promoted and is kind of respected for being so independent and individual and different and powerful, whether it's, you know, female power or male power or whatever it is, but just having these individual, like, idols and stuff like that. So we live in a society that promotes all of that, but at the same time, we're in this like follower society where people only then care about something, or really only give it attention. The majority, um, unfortunately, will only then kind of jump on the bandwagon when they see everybody else has done that. So I would say that that's a bit unfortunate, but either way, those experiences are still cool, though. The fact that there's a lot of people like you who would stop, who would offer something, who would be that person who's got the courage to be like, well, I really don't care what anybody thinks. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna, and sometimes even probably knowing like, by me doing this, I'm gonna help that person out in a way. And I'm pretty sure there's people that have done that for me as well, where they enjoyed what I was doing, and they'll go and give me something, drop a coin in my box, or stick around, and that helps create other people doing the same thing. So yeah, that's really interesting to see as well during that
Well,
those experiences.
well, yeah, man, you're hit on some really important things that talking about the lady or the people, whoever it was, who was like, I was really embarrassed to drop this off. Is it's like it shows you, as you were saying, like this isn't even an act about a person. That like that moment from everyone else's point of view, had no one would have recognized that lady or man, whoever it was. Like no one's attention was there. But as you said, it's these delusions that in the society we do live in, and the manifestation of, oh, if I do anything outside of this norm here, all eyes are going to be on me. I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be ridiculed. And you know, all these things are just more often than not just in our own heads, right? It's the
Right.
illusions of fear of what if I walk over there and I miss the bucket. Like simple things could cost people that much anxiety to do it. So they're literally like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. That's why they even say some people. There's like studies that show people would rather literally die than do public speaking. You know what I mean? I know from my own experiences when I was getting more into music, afraid to perform in front of people because I was like, I never really sang. I didn't have that motivation to do anything or even the courage. And, I would like, but I came to a moment where like, I just need to do it. Like, I'm literally freaking myself out about what people think. And I don't even know what I think about my performance live because I haven't done it. How can I know what other people are thinking if I have no understanding of my own experience? It hasn't happened.
Mm.
And I remember the first time I performed, it was at a local bar back home where I live. My family lives in Chicago. And I was with my friends and they played music. And it was nice that they played, but I went on stage, dude. My hands were like this. And but what's interesting, I still played the song. The song didn't go. My voice was, sometimes in and out. I would go a little softer. But afterwards I was done, like my heart was pounding. And I took a moment and I looked around, and other than my friends, nobody was watching. No one was booing. Nobody was like just people were going on about their day. And my
Right.
friends clapped. And in that moment, it really set for me. I go, oh my gosh, people are in their own lives doing their own thing. It's not the end of the world. You can suck. No one really cares that much. They're not paying to come see you. They haven't, spent $200, $300 for your ticket for you to do that. And it's like kind of those buildups of understanding, like, wait a minute, I'm okay. This isn't that big of a deal. I'm going to be fine. And as you said, not having the illusion of this confident, but really living that, like, I don't need to be a follower. I can take initiative,
Mm.
like when you're busking, right? Like you're putting yourself out there. You're saying, hey, by me being here, I'm telling you that I have something to offer, and I have something beautiful to offer, and I hope you enjoy. And just having that confidence in talking about frequencies, that resonates with people too. Because
Yeah,
every
for
time
sure.
someone starts to play, the opening, the intro to a song, and someone hasn't heard somebody sing, i.e., those music shows like the contest, you see people, and because I know from my point of view, you go, all right, how's this person's voice? They're getting into the intro. You see them start to walk up to the microphone. You know what I'm talking about. You're just, there's anticipation of like, how do they sound? They sound good on the guitar. Okay, great. And then that their voice happens, and it's that when you carry confidence, you know what you're doing, or you believe in what you're doing. You're like, wow. And then talk about really getting pulled in. You're like, holy cow. And then you're just like in that moment. But just going back to the lady, it's just being able to really own who you are, take ownership, be in the moment, be present. Don't, try not to worry about what other people think, because at the end of the day, no one really cares that much.
Right.
Like, so
That's true. I mean, in most, I think the older we get, the more we start to really realize like no one really cares at all what
right,
you're doing. I mean, there may be certain people who are, and if you're really putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be judged, where you know you're going to be judged.
right,
Um, but other than that, on our daily lives, yeah, people have that idea that everybody's watching them, that people are going to think people are going to be talking about them. That's a whole besides music. That's a whole nother topic that's really interesting. The fact that people have these concepts in their minds that I think are, I don't know when we're instilled with that, because I think most people, no matter how confident you may be today, most people go through those moments in their lives where either when they were in school, they were nervous to read in front of the class, or whatever it might have been. And then that sticks with some people to the point where every decision they make is based on what other people think, or what they think other people think.
right.
It's like, it's not even coming from their own genuine, like, that's what I love to do. This is what I like. This is who I am. It's, this is what I think other people like of who I am and what they think
Dude,
they think, it's like,
dude,
then that becomes a whole like crazy
it becomes a
blend.
yawning ball of just chaos and thoughts of things that are just all literally just that, thoughts.
Right.
Like, how many times do you yourself or people you meet, they're freaking out about something, yada yada yada, and then the thing passes, and you're like, okay, like, how are you? Like, I don't know why I was freaking out about that. I don't know why I allowed that to affect me so much. That wasn't that bad. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one of the biggest examples is people going on like roller coasters or doing something in that regard. I use that as just a simple example. They're like, oh my gosh, and they go on and they go, that was scary, but it actually wasn't that bad. It was more in my head than I realized. You're like, see, I told, like, we knew you're going to be okay, but it's hard for people because the irrational of mind, as you said, it happens a lot for a lot of us at a younger age. So that whatever the traumas were are what ultimately make you in this moment. If you don't address them, you don't know how to approach them, you don't allow them to speak, you allow them to tell you what to do, but you don't allow to have that true conversation with it. It's like, all right, anxiety, what's up? Like, why are you here? Where's this coming from? And really having that, like I said, conversation with self, to know, like, I'm more than just this vessel. I have, whether you want to believe in, God, higher power, the source of life, working with you. Then you have in your mind those irrational fears, those traumas, and being able to just go, all right, I know you're here, and I appreciate what you do. You're trying to help me the best way you know how. But I'm gonna go do this, and if I fail, I fail. I'll figure it out. And I think it sounds so simple when you've gone through that journey, but for people who haven't, it's like the hardest thing to do. But it simply starts with, like you said, that woman, or that, where, I don't know, was it a woman or a guy?
The one that I can think of the most, I think the one that hit me the most, it was a woman who
Oh, right.
came and then gave me something, gave me some money after I had finished playing. But that had happened a couple times. But yeah, that was, I think, the freshest experience.
But that's the thing, is it's like in that moment, it was being able to, while she's sitting there listening to you, knowing what she said to you, to some capacity, she's sitting there that whole time going, I want to go give him money. I should wait. Oh my God, there's a lot of people. And truly enjoying the moment to the best you can while still having that inner dialogue. Because clearly she wasn't like, oh, I'm nervous, I'll just wait. she was like, no, I want to go give him money. Should I, like to some capacity, she's having this internal conversation with self.
Mhm.
What's interesting is like, she was in that moment so much, but could she been in it more, just allowing herself to be like, all right, I'll go after. You know what I mean? Like, I can't speak with certainty, but at the end of the day, it is taking those steps of being like, all right, I will still approach him at some point. All right,
Mhm.
if I see him again on the street or I see another busker, maybe this time I won't wait till the end. I'll just do it right away and get it done with. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is a slow process,
Right.
but it is allowing yourself going back to the present moment, just being there with whatever it is you're doing. So,
Yeah, it's super important to realize that within ourselves, like that I mean, you've touched on that various times already. The present moment. It's it's really all that there is, and it's so important to be conscious of that and to not let our minds. And maybe I'm getting off into some other different topic other than music, but it's so important, and that's been something alongside my musical journey, which has already been a good portion of my life. Um, but even more so, my spiritual journey, or like, really figuring out who I am and what's my soul, and where is my soul, and
mm,
what's going on up here? Like, why am I not in control sometimes? Um, yeah, this overall realization of being as present as possible, and not letting these external influences of what other people think, or the other influences then that can kind of code your mind in a way to feel or think in a certain way, and just being in that moment, and enjoying that present moment. Yeah, that's a really super important thing and topic to kind of always be on, I guess, every day. It's, for me personally, it's one of those things that I try to work on every day. And it really, in my opinion, it takes that work. It takes that conscious work of being always kind of on it.
totally, man. Well, I mean, to go off of now into more of your music and kind of bringing everything back in and wrapping up, it's like my training style is like, how do you become in the present moment? You have to just, your breath. That's the only thing you have to put you back into the present moment. That is how you become present. Because when
Yeah.
you're there, that's, again, that's all you have. And it's interesting, as I've been doing more of these things and talking, more publicly about my style of training and that the focus of the breathing and that present awareness. You come out with a song called "Breathe."
Yeah, I've I've been working on that song for a while, actually.
Right, the
I've
synchronicity.
had Yeah, I've had this. Well, the thing is like you, because I think we kind of ride on similar wavelengths. We
Hmm.
surf on similar wavelengths, and it's like, for a really long time, I've also been realizing that's for more, at least for me, and that's what I'm getting from you as well. That's the key to kind of centering yourself,
Yeah.
and to kind of like blocking everything else out, and just bringing yourself back to the present moment, and also kind of controlling the mind and your thoughts, and like all these different things that are going on
Right.
in your life. It's, yeah, just taking the moment to breathe. And that song was one of those things where I had been thinking about this idea for such a long time. I had the guitar. We were in the mountains last winter. Like, I tried skiing for the first time, which was awesome, by the way. But even more so, just being in the mountains, like in the Alps, and just the
Mhm.
amazing, just seeing these amazing sculptures of nature, just being completely wow, just being that experience of just realizing how small you are in comparison to the rest of the world and the planet and everything. But we were in this like cabin, and I was playing that song, and then it was one of those, I would say, almost kind of divine moments, but just I just started singing the majority of the song that I
Yeah.
have today. Minus the change of like words here and there, lyrics,
Right.
where sometimes I'll go back and be like, well, this will be a better word just because it's better,
Yeah.
or it fits better in the melody pattern or something.
Of course.
But yeah, that was one of those songs, and it just kind of formed, or it grew out of that whole that conscious or subconscious thinking of, yeah, breathing is really important. I have to focus on my breathing. Um, And yeah, then exactly, yeah, just that song came out, and almost at a, as you're saying, as a time when it's probably, it's, you know, hopefully it's something that's going to help other people think in my own way, as the ways you're doing with your training and your therapy. Like, it's you know, I always feel like there's people out there in the world that, I wouldn't say modern day prophets, but like we find our way to the force or God or the universe. For me personally, like, I believe, obviously, I'm not a religious person specifically. I kind of learn from all the religions, and I've kind of tried to study from many of them.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that I'm a religious person in one kind of religion or cult kind of thing, but on a spiritual level, I definitely believe in God, and that
Mhm.
this force exists, you know,
Good.
and that and I definitely feel that that force at times is like pushing through people or sending kind of these messages, and
Yeah.
that when in certain periods of time and throughout history and within the next years of future, and however,
Mhm.
you know, as the world continues to develop, is, I guess what I want to say, that there's always people that kind of almost not preaching, but trying to spread a similar idea and message. And I feel like it's definitely that connection, like this greater network
Yeah.
that is pushing that through certain people, so that at that time there are, you know, other people who may not hear that message, but because of you, maybe hopefully because of
Right.
me, they're gonna get that idea of like, oh yeah, just let me breathe, let me just think about my breath somehow, you know.
Beautiful.
I find that amazing, you know, that there's like,
I'm with you.
we're in two different parts of the world, and like, yeah, we're friends because we met through other mutual friends and stuff, but I
Mhm.
find that to be beautiful, you know, that there's these, that you can then find people throughout all around the world, that there may be someone right now in, you know, in Sri Lanka or something, and that person is also trying to put something out, whether it's in a book or music or another podcast, and they may be talking something similar that we're talking about. Yes.
And that's what you're nailing on the head, man, is beautiful, is the fact that we are so much more connected. We're not, when I say we're one, it's not like, oh, you're not Moses and I'm not Patrick, we're the same thing. I'm not saying that in the one. It's really understanding when you're on the journey towards what I'd say logos, the word, God, truth. When you understand, like when you say, hey, you can lie all you want, but the truth will ultimately find its way to the surface. What is truth? It is what is. Like when I say I am, and in philosophers, they say, I think it was Descartes, like, I think, therefore I am. It's really understanding the power of you, of self. And as I said, that connection to God. And this is coming from, dude, this is coming from someone who like went to church here and there, never was like, oh, I don't really want to do it. My dad's, an atheist, all these things. And I was like, oh, whatever. But it's through my own journey, you know, you know, playing around with, going to church here and there, wanting to trying to understand who I am, this life, this purpose. And then obviously, meeting Joy, my fiance, having our son, it was like things just really started coming to fruition for me. I'm like, wow, there's so much more at play here that there's too many what we call coincidences, that it's like, no, this isn't just random coincidence. Like the
Right.
true meaning of these things were meant to happen. There's purpose to these frequencies coming together, this understanding or understanding rather. And when you allow yourself to go on that journey, like you said, is more people will, not prophets, but people who are really just, they would say in the Bible, do as Jesus did. Don't idolize him. Do as he did, and
Mhm.
really
Well,
live.
he would say himself, he would say, if you
Yeah,
have as much faith as I do, you can do even greater things than me. You know,
exactly.
so
Right.
he was the kind of dude who was trying to really just be like,
Yeah.
you all, they call you, or we say we're the children of God because we all are connected to that same, you know,
Right.
that same source, you know.
Totally.
You know, you have your brother, he's your brother because you come from the same parents. You're not the same person, but you still have that same connection. And
Exactly.
but yeah, there's definitely, I think there's definitely a really strong force out there that kind of pushes a lot of people, and it's beautiful to see that, you know, even between us, there's that connection already of like this message we're trying to promote. And actually, there was another friend of mine. I had already written the song, and he's a really cool dude. He's from, I'm not sure. He's also from the Midwest, I would say.
Mm.
Um, and he's in a lot of different projects, but he's a musician and does his own kind of music as well. I think he calls it surf country,
Mm.
but he also released a song based off the Wim Hof method, but
Yeah.
he called it Breathe. He called it Breathe. I mean, it's nothing like my song. It's actually this kind of song that's like, it's got music in it and it's like a breathing exercise at the same time.
Oh, wow.
But he had released that, and I was almost like, when he released it, I was like, oh man, I just wrote a song called Breathe, and I'm gonna title it Breathe. I hope he doesn't
Mhm.
end up like getting, which he wouldn't, but it's like, I hope it's not like, oh, why did
Yeah.
Moses like rip off my song somehow,
Yeah.
But it blew my mind at that time, like, oh man, like I just finished writing this song, and I'm gonna work on it, finish it completely, record it, but it's like there's some other one that I know already in my network who's putting out a similar message.
Dude. And
And
that's the
yeah,
thing,
it's cool.
if I may, just kind of wrapping things up here, really
Yeah.
what's happening is when you get people on the same frequency, again, in, putting out into the world, in the material world, that frequency of something so true, embedded in logos is the breath, is all you have. It's your connection back to the present, the gift of life given to you by, the creator. Ultimately, what happens is don't be jealous, don't be envious, don't live in greed, work with them, build community, grow together, because you're on that same path towards a higher power, towards your higher purpose, connection with
Mm.
a higher source, and I think when people are in that, people will look at that who haven't found it yet and sometimes be like, oh, you think you have this perfect life, or I'm going to be just the follower, rather than being like, you know what, let me try to understand why that person's smiling in hard times, or why they're able to find love in these moments. And I think that's
Mm.
what we're always trying to talk about and searching for, or expressing through music. But dude, this was so fun. I got to run, but where can people find you, man? I want to get hopefully as many people to your pages.
Yeah, so I mean, today I use pretty much. I'm pretty because I kind of can't hang with all the different types of platforms that exist, from Snapchat to TikTok to this, that,
Yeah.
and whatever. So I pretty much just kind of stick more or less to Instagram, and
Okay.
sometimes YouTube. I'll publish music on YouTube, so people can find me um, on all streaming platforms under my name, Moses Christopher. And with that name, if you search for me on Instagram or YouTube, Facebook, you'll
I'll
find
put a
me.
link
So
in the in this when we're done. But yeah, I'll put the Instagram, and I can get your YouTube page on there. But yeah, man, anything real quick, anything in the works that we can look forward to?
well, I'm working on a lot of new music. Breathe, that song specifically, I just got back the master of that song with a friend who does amazing mastering and mixing work in England. So I just got that song back, and I'm hopefully going to release it with a music video with another friend who's going to shoot a music video um, in January, maybe right after the new year. And really for next year, I'm just planning on releasing tons of music videos, a ton of content to put on Instagram, and just hopefully creating, which is my goal, is just kind of hopefully creating this positive energy with what I'm putting out there.
Love it, man, dude. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm feeling it, man. But dude,
Cool.
have a wonderful rest of your day, and
You
yeah, man,
too.
we'll talk soon, brother. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
See you, man.